Hi, I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. Today we're going to take a look at the Hunkydory Unicorn Utopia kit. We were really excited to get the Unicorn Utopia kit. This from the time that we saw the announcement to the time that they actually arrived. We were delighted to see that Hunkydory was going to do something with mystical, magical unicorns. And the imagery in this kit is just stunning, absolutely beautiful. I did find that Unicorn Utopia was actually a little bit more challenging than I expected it to be to build my cards from, because many of the images in this kit are very, very detailed. So it makes it a little bit challenging to put your cards together. But what I'd like to do today is to show you how we have kind of tamed some of those images down and made them more manageable for your card making. So let's take a look. As usual, we're going to start our tour today by taking a look at some of the basic supplies that go along with Unicorn Utopia. Because I did make a lot of very basic cards, what I did instead of adding a lot of die cuts and other things is I tried some supplemental materials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the very basics here. These are the things you need to have to construct your cards. But in addition to the basics, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a fun list of optional supplies that you can take a look at and determine if there's things you might like to try. You'll see some of those in the cards as we go through this video. Here's the insert pack. You get 16 inserts to match the 8 sets of toppers in the Unicorn Utopia kit. Now this I used a lot of these. I think I used 3 or 4 sheets of these unicorns and castle stickers from hot off the press. These just worked out wonderfully with this kit, so I highly recommend these unicorn and castle stickers from hot off the press to use with your unicorn set. And again, you'll see the examples of those. I used some double-sided heart stickers. There's a beautiful set of acetate that goes with this kit called Dreamscape Luxury Foiled Acetate. I used both silver and gold Mary. Hi, honey. Maybe you can see my cameraman there. I used both silver and gold Mary in the construction of these cards. The toppers are actually foiled in gold, but any time I was not using an actual gold foil topper and I was using like the printed cardstock, I actually framed it in silver because it made it easier to use those silver stickers from hot off the press. So I used silver and gold. And another material that was put together specifically for this kit, but will be very, very useful in a lot of your card making, is this vibrant watercolor set. We're going to make good use of this in the coming weeks in a variety of uses, but this vibrant watercolors is really, really beautiful, varied colors done in kind of watercolory swirls, and this worked really well with the Unicorn Utopia set. So these are the ones that I'm going to recommend that are highly recommended. Of course, when you have unicorns, you also kind of want to see rainbows, glitter. So I used a few colors of glitter. Let me tell you what I used. And certainly you can use Hunkydory glitter or whatever you have in your own crafting stash. I used crushed lavender. I used glamour purple. I used cherry pink. And I used fairy kisses. And then this is something I pulled out of my craft stash that I made good use of in these cards. Now these are a little bit large for a lot of my card making, but I thought they worked out wonderfully with the unicorns, where you kind of want to overstate the glittery effects when you're talking about unicorns. And so I had these really wonderful hearts, and I've listed some of these in the store for you if you're interested in having those. So I use these very sparkly acrylic hearts. And then we'll show you the rest of the supplies at the end of the video. Our first set we're going to take a look at today is called Life's Greatest Blessings. And you'll see the wonderful unicorn family here. Love of a family is life's greatest blessing. Three little unicorns in this one. Time spent with family is worth every second. A nice family scene here. Happy birthday. Family is where life begins and love never ends. Best wishes on your birthday. We've got this wonderful family scene here. Mama and her foal here. Enjoy your birthday. You can begin to see what I mean about a lot of activity in these toppers. Take a look at this one. This is kind of a 2-for-1 because we get border down either side. But aren't they beautiful? Oh, the shimmering silver white of the unicorn and the forest scene behind. And then over here we've got the baby laying in the soft grass surrounded by flowers. Beautiful. Pretty foiling on that one. And look at this one. This is another twofer because you clearly have two wonderful cards that you can make out of this one piece of cardstock. So naturally, we did. Let's take a look at what we made here. Let's start with that one with the two borders. When I saw those two narrower borders, immediately we thought gatefold, so that's what we created from those. In the gatefold card here, you'll see I did a little bit of paper piecing. Can I have that one back? I did a little bit of paper piecing in the gatefold. We used this section. This is a 6x6 gatefold, by the way. And then I cut a couple of strips of this center piece, and I added strips to make it balanced on the topper. So I added a strip to this side and to this side. And I did the same thing on the baby side. And I took the strip from here. It just was too much to have all of that blue in the center, at least I thought. Maybe you'll think it's great, but I thought it was a little bit much, so I moved it over a little bit, and again, cut those strips to fit either side. And then I put my love of family as life's greatest blessing in the center of my gatefold, attached just to one side. And here's the first example of using those resin stones. And I normally, like I said, I think those would be a little bit too glittery for me, but glitter and unicorns just seem to go together. The other thing you may notice, hopefully you can catch that, is it catching in the camera where you can see the glitter work? I did some glitter work on these cards, and I did not glitter all of them. But I did glitter a lot of these, and the glitter just really plays nicely with the unicorns. So that's something I actually recommend, taking some time to glitter some of your cards, because it really creates a kind of a mystical effect. On the inside, we have the matching insert sheet. Really pretty. Okay, that's that one. Next up, here's a piece of that watercolors, adorable scorable in the back. We've covered that with a piece of the starry acetate. We've anchored the acetate behind here. And I just think that's beautiful. Look at those greens, the way they play with the greens in the meadow. I think that's really pretty. And this actually fits really well because you may or may not see it on camera, but there's some tiny, tiny little stars surrounding the unicorns here. So the star finish was beautiful. Adding happy birthday. We split the frame, put the inside up on some foam tape, put some foam tape behind here, and that's all we did to it because, again, in order to take these really active scenes, and I call it active because there's just a lot happening in this picture and a lot happening in the border. We didn't want to, we wanted to have a really simple setting for that on our card itself so that you can appreciate everything that you have happening in the image without it looking just too busy. So inside, I just put a piece of insert paper. It's almost the same color as my card. You hardly see that. But I had that best wishes on your birthday, and I used that at the bottom of my insert. Next, here's one of those two pieces off of the cardstock. I took that from here. Now in this one, I've covered my 6x6 card with a piece of that adorable scoreable watercolors background. Then I took my topper and I cut it about 1/2 inch smaller, so I'd say probably 5x5, and then I matted that on a piece of gold. So I've kind of got a double layer here in my background. I did that because I'm not doing anything else other than adding a few glitter accents. But again, I hope you can see those glitter accents in the bushes and things. They're just beautiful. And I did that just by tapping little bits of glue. Just tap, 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 tap over the flowers, and then pouring the colors. First one color, and then I'd let it dry and sweep off the excess. Then I'd do another color, tap, 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 tap. And then I'd let that dry and sweep off the excess. So I ended up having different colors in these different bushes, and that just ended up being really, really pretty, I think. And the tag on this one says, "To someone very special." This one actually, yeah, there we go. And matching insert. I think this is maybe one of my favorite cards from this set. I think it's just beautiful. Okay, here's the other side of that image. And I've used a very similar treatment. Here we go. In this case, I have taken a 5x5 card and I've covered it in silver this time. I took a piece of that bright pink adorable scoreable that we used on the last card, and I cut my topper down to fit, and then I made an extremely narrow border, maybe 1/8 inch, possibly less, border around that, just enough to give me just a little pop of pink around the edges. I glittered it, and then I used one of the sayings off of my unicorns and castle stickers by Hot Off the Press that says "Believe in Magic," and put that in the corner. And I love this card. I think it just turned out beautiful. Wouldn't that just be precious for a young girl's birthday, or any girl that likes glitter and magic like me? So maybe not such a young girl. Anyway, on the inside, my husband's telling me to move along here. But on the inside, we've got the matching insert. Isn't that pretty? We got a lot of cards out of this set, friends. Here's another one off the topper set. This one right here. In this case, I've used another piece of my watercolors, adorable scoreable. I've covered it in that yellow and orange. I put down a piece of acetate that you've seen that technique before. I literally just rough cut around it. I want to make the edges kind of jaggedy, and then I split my topper, and the frame is glued down flat. I've got foam squares under this one, and I think that it's all it wanted. It really wants the image to be the profile on that piece. I used a piece of, in this case I actually used a piece of, because I made so many cards I didn't have enough insert paper, I actually used a piece out of the 7 or the 8x8 book. You could use one of the new trim to fit, trimmy pieces of insert for the inside of your card if you don't have the 7x7 or the 8x8 book. But that's what I used for the insert in that. This one, I actually used a piece of cardstock left over from one of the other cards. But again, I get a lot of questions about, "Debbie, what do we do with these little tiny toppers?" And I just thought this was a really charming scene with the 3 of them. So I used 2 pieces of glitter paper, and that I thought matched my background nicely. I used kind of this soft green and the purple. And I just mounted this on a little square, and then I double framed that. And there was so much going on here, I just thought that was all it needed. I added my "Have a Wonderful Day" up on some foam tape. Done. And I matched it with a leftover piece of insert paper from another set. Finally, I have this topper, this one here, and I have used a piece of the Watercolors Adorable Scoreable covered my A2 card, and I rough cut a piece of that acetate for my background to make that topper just a little bit larger. Put down the topper, put down the greeting, and then I had one of those rose gold flowers left from the Rose Gold Moments kit. I have another video out there on how to make these flowers and the materials necessary for that, so I'm not going to go through that today, but I just used one of my leftover flowers. And even though this was rose gold and this was gold trimmed, I thought they still played really nicely together. So that's how we made that one. All of those from one set. Okay, this is called The Princess and the Unicorns, and when I looked at this one, honestly I thought, holy cow, look at all of that detail. How am I supposed to put this together? I suspect that some of you may be feeling a bit overwhelmed too. I think you'll be really pleased with what we came up with. We have here, life was meant for good friends and great adventure, to a beautiful friend on your birthday. And then 2 large images, a bunch of small ones, a bunch of little buttons. We actually got my favorite card from this set out of this topper. Look at this though. Is that magnificent or what? Look at that beautiful Princess and the Unicorn over here, and you've got this beautiful swan scene over here. Gorgeous sky. I think it's gorgeous, really beautiful. And then this was an interesting choice for this topper set. They've used that watercolor background, but then they foiled it and created all over florals in the corners. So let's see what we did with them. Okay, let's start with the ones that came off of here. This one was just too beautiful to not use, even though there's nothing here that says unicorn. I had to use this swan piece because I thought it was just beautiful. So I covered a 4x8 card and actually cut this piece right from here. I covered it in Silver Mary so that I could use those hot off the press stickers again. Use 3 of the clouds and Believe in Magic on there. Open it up to a matching insert, and I thought that was just pretty. You'll notice on this insert that I've actually cut it slightly smaller than the card. I wanted that white frame to show. Again, it kind of tones down the busyness of the print. And this card comes from here. And I love the way this one turned out also. Again, I've taken a 4x8, a DL card, and I have covered it in silver mirror board. I've taken a slightly smaller piece here, trimmed this just a bit to get it to fit nicely inside of my covered, or my frame with the Mary. So I'm cutting that about just a little under a ½ an inch narrower and in height. I added stickers off of that castles and unicorn sheet, Never Stop Dreaming, stars, clouds, a rainbow, and this little piece across the bottom. And I thought that was really charming. This is one that would be really, really nice done with some of the flowers glittered too. I didn't happen to have done that, but it would be beautiful if it had been. Okay, that's those pieces. Next, we're going to use this one. And the frame for this one matched those all over flowers. So I simply covered my card, this is a USA 6, in that corner piece, broke my frame, glued this one down, put this one up on foam tape, put one of the little buttons. That's all I did because it was so busy it needed to be toned down, but now it's beautiful. Inside matching insert. Next one is also off of that sheet. Same treatment. I've taken a USA 6 once again. 637. No, let's say 6. USA 6 once again. And covered it in that cardstock. Popped out the pieces of my frame, put this one up on foam tape, glued this one flat. put on a little border strip here because this was a little bit narrow for the space. The border strip kind of captures some of that space. Added one of my little resin hearts. It's just enough. Stop there. Inside, matching insert. And this is my favorite card from this set. I was looking at all those little pieces and thinking, what am I going to do with that? Well, in this case, I used the top of this piece because I liked the colors in here and I had just enough left to do it if I covered my card, my 4x8, in gold Mary so that I could use a little bit narrower piece here, which I did. And I used my border strip across the bottom. And then in each case, I made these slightly larger by putting them on some glittered paper. So I've got my little topper. I've put just a slightly larger piece of pink glittered paper behind it. Mounted my little button of the girl here, 2 resin hearts. Then I took another one. I did the same thing with the pink. Then I took a piece of white glittery paper and I mounted that on a piece of gold Mary to kind of match the mirror board treatment in the main topper. Set that one on edge so that it's standing in front of this diamond. Did the same thing here. Little button, 2 resin hearts, and I think this is just such an appealing design. This clearly is profiled as the main piece, but I love, it's almost like it's telling a story of the love between this unicorn and the girl, because over here we've got the little girl, or the princess with 2 hearts. Over here we've got the unicorn with 2 hearts, and then the 3 pictures featuring both of them. I just think it's absolutely my favorite card from the set. Matching insert paper. Done. Okay, next one up here is called Unicorn Kingdom. We've got 3 major toppers and then some little pieces here. A little magic can take you a long way. Sending birthday wishes. Have a wonderful day. Home is where your story begins. And especially for you on this border repeating. Nice other border here. I think this is an especially pretty piece. Lots of blues and greens in this unicorn border. You know what we're going to do with that. And then I thought this was an interesting choice with this topper set. I didn't see a lot in the images that match to this piece of card, but we made great use of it anyway. So let's take a look at what we did with them. We'll start with that side border. Oops. Now, once again, this one's set kind of to the side. So what we did is I took a 4x8 card and I actually cut this much off. And then you can see that I've added a piece from the solid or more solid pattern to the right of the image, and then I've used that border strip to kind of pull in the same colors that you see on the other side of this image. So the especially for you worked well to bring that in. Now you will notice on this card that I put some silver stickers on a card with gold edges. I think they work well together. I didn't have any issue with doing that. I used the Never Stop Dreaming off the unicorns and castles. I used a little unicorn standing here and then the rainbow. I could have made this card shorter had I chosen to do so by trimming a little off the bottom and all of this off the top. But I just thought these trees were really pretty. And yet when I finished the card, it needed something up there. So that's why I did it this way. But I think it turned out really pretty. Next up, I used that same background from the cardstock we were just looking at to cover this. This is an A6, US A6, so it's a 5x6.5 card. And I took the 3-piece frame, broke it in 3 pieces. I put the outer frame up on some foam tape. I glued the inner frame flat to my card. and I raised the center image up on some foam tape. And then I've got a little Magic Can Take You a Long Way foam tape under that. And I thought that fit really nice, and it was a nice calming effect for a very busy topper. But I think it turned out really pretty. On the inside, I added a piece of my insert paper, which was fairly plain. So I thought, why not have a castle in the clouds? So we do. And I love it. I think it's pretty, especially since we have a castle in the background of this image. Next up, this is the third topper off of our sheet, and I used that green background. This does have the bird in it, so I thought that was a nice tie to this outer border. This is a USA 2 card, a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I covered it in gold mirror board, and then I cut my image slightly smaller, or cut my cardstock slightly smaller to show the mirror border all the way around. I just mounted my topper with the mare and the foal, and home is where your story begins, and I thought that was a really nice treatment for that, and I stopped right there. On the inside, I added matching insert paper, and I actually used one of my little tiny postage stamp size toppers on the inside to use that up in. And finally, I wanted to do something that would use these other little squares. So this is what I came up with. This card is by Lomiak. We have these available in the store, and they're actually cut to where they have little windows in them. I started by putting my images in the back and looking through, and that looked good, but I actually decided over time that I wanted more of my foiling to show, so I actually put them on top of the windows. But because the Lomiak cards are cut and embossed, that stands them up automatically a little bit by adding my toppers to the outside. Now I've changed the color of this card before I started working on it with some gilding polish, with my Purple Mist gilding polish. So that's where this purple has come from. You won't find the purple cards in the store. I just simply changed the color of it. I used a piece of my acetate to create this border because I thought it needed something more over there. I put my topper in the center here, and I thought that was a really pretty treatment for three relatively small toppers. And then I kind of went crazy with my acrylic embellishments down the edge. Again, it's unicorns, you can do that. On the inside, I lined it with a piece of insert paper and used a matching piece of my acetate on the inside just for fun. But I like the way this card turned out, and it's using little tiny toppers. This set is called Over the Rainbow, and I think it has some of the most beautiful imagery on it. It does have very large toppers, so we won't get as many cards from these, but the images that are here are beautiful. Interestingly enough, somewhere over the rainbow here shows a Pegasus instead of a unicorn. Just interesting from the For What It's Worth department. A couple little toppers here. You are magical. To someone very special. May your dreams come true. Sending birthday wishes. A couple pretty little tags. I think this one's really beautiful. One of the things I love that they did here is instead of having such an active border, they've used really nice kind of subdued colors in the borders of these so that it really lets the image stand out with all that detail. Look at this. Isn't that magnificent? Why, that's pretty, pretty, pretty. Your castle on one side, the unicorn and baby on the other, stallion up on the hill rearing up. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then we've got this kind of almost beach scene here with the pretty pastel sky and nice foiling on either side. Let's see what we did with it. Here's that first image of the mare and the foal and the stallion. In this case, I've taken a 6x6 card. I've covered it in silver mirror board. Then I cut my image out about a 1/2 inch smaller, so I'm going to call that 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. and I mounted that on a piece of burgundy mirror board. So I've got this kind of triple layering effect going. I've got my image on burgundy on silver, and I thought that was really beautiful to draw in the colors from the topper. Up here in the sky, I put the castle in the clouds, added a few stars around it. It just didn't want much more than that. I did glitter my unicorns. I glittered the manes and tails of the unicorn and the baby just to kind of add a little bit of extra sparkle and interest to them. But I think that's just magnificent. On the inside, we've got the contrasting image and the insert. Put a little, just hide the inside to the outside by putting a little rainbow and cloud on the inside. I think this is really, really pretty. One of my favorites. Here's our other large topper. And I've taken a piece of my cardstock border. It looks like I'm at here. Covered it's either a USA 6 of 5 by 6.5 or maybe a 5 by 7. I think it's going to be 5 by 6.5. Covered it with my foiled cardstock. It's a 3-piece frame set, so I put the centerpiece up on some foam tape. I glued the centerpiece down flush, put the outside up on some foam squares. May your dreams come true across the center. One of my resin hearts. Done. Didn't need anything else. Matching insert. Here's where I used one of my tags. To the right, I just used a tiny little sliver of mirror board to create a little string on my tag there, and I did add a silver star to the hole in the tag to hold. The reason I did that is it's holding my my little strings in place. Okay, we had another pretty piece in this piece of card. Didn't have any unicorns on it, but this was a really pretty piece over here. Didn't want to waste it, so I covered a 4 1/4 by 5.5 card in this corner. And then I used one of my tags, I Believe in You, in the sky, and I used a couple of stickers off of that unicorns and castle sticker sheet to create a border here and 2 unicorns here playing in the foreground. I love this. I think this was a fun card and a good use of the material. Okay, on this one I've used a USA 6, a 5 by 6.5 card. This is a big topper. And see how we have this little white strip on the inside piece of the border here? I thought it would be nice to just accent that white by leaving the card itself white. So I left the card white. I broke the topper into 3 pieces, foam tape, glued down flush, and foam tape again on the outer frame. A little more foam tape under Sending Birthday Wishes. And on the inside I've used the matching topper piece, or the matching insert piece, and I put that up on some burgundy Mary board. I think that's just really pretty. That's it for the set. Our next set is called Into the Mystic. And we've got this nice oval topper here that's set inside a rectangle. We've got, I love this one, this diamond-shaped topper with 4 corners. We've got the You Are Something Magical, smaller topper, a little oval, and a nice border. Over here, we've got peacocks and hummingbirds and fairies. All in this busy border. It's pretty, but it's busy. And then we've got this one, which I think is just wonderful, with the planets and the unicorns. That's pretty. Let's see what we did with it. Okay. All right, with this first one, I actually used that little oval topper and a piece of that busy border. I've just taken a USA 2, 4 1/4 by 5.5, covered it in gold Mary. I've cut this piece to fit, and in this case I only wanted about 1/8 of an inch, so I would cut this piece 1/4 of an inch smaller than my card base. Then I mounted, or I took a piece of my swirly acetate and I added it just from here to the bottom of my cardstock sheet. It's anchored here under this unicorn, and it's anchored under this border. And then I put these little jewels here to make it look like that's what's holding them in place, but they're really just little gold stick-on balls. Little border there, and I think that's really, really pretty. I tried putting a swirly acetate over this. No. Way too much going on there, so I only started it over the more solid pink area, but I think that turned out pretty. No insert on the inside of that one. Okay. Next we have that pretty diamond-shaped topper with the 4 corners, and on this one I've used a USA 6, which is 5 by 6.5. I've covered that in a piece of gold maryboard. Then I've cut a piece of, that watercolor cardstock in the lavender and purple tones. And I cut that to be 1/4 of an inch smaller on each dimension. So it's going to be 4 3/4 by 6 1/4 inches for that background piece. Then I mounted my 4 corners and my diamond-shaped topper all on foam tape and taped that up. It makes a nice dimensional appearance with that purple showing between the edges there. You get a really deep look with this, and that deep look is further amplified by putting this little happy birthday up on foam tape. But I think that turned out really, really pretty. Matching insert in one of my throwaway strips here at the top. Pretty. Next up, I love this one. This is the corner of our cardstock. I've taken a USA 6, 5 by 6.5, covered it in silver maryboard, and then I've taken a piece of that bright pink watercolor cardstock. Actually, I think I took that bright pink right from here. And I mounted my cutoff piece of cardstock on top of that, leaving just a very ultra tiny little pink border around that. And then I cut a piece of my planets acetate, put over the top of that, and just made that the same size as the cardstock piece itself that I was using. And I anchored that down by using our little technique where I kind of used my best glue ever and kind of dabbed around in places where I had pattern, and just used tiny little dots over the top, let that dry good, then put it on top of my cardstock, and then assembled my card. In addition, I used the castles sticker from that unicorn and castles sheet by hot off the press, some little stars off of that, and I think this card turned out just beautiful. I love it. Here's another really, really pretty one. This one is using the other corner of that card. This is a 5 by 5 card. I have covered that in gold mirrorboard, and then I've cut this topper 1/4 of an inch smaller on each measure, so it's going to be 4.75 by 4.75. I've covered that in a piece of the planets acetate, and then I've used that smaller topper here in the corner, and that's all I did because I just thought it was really, really pretty with the planets in the background and that planet acetate over the top. Really pretty. On the inside I used the matching insert, a few more of my little stickers off of the hot off the press unicorns and castles sheet. See how nicely those worked in? They just were fun to use too. And finally we have this big, bold, pretty topper. And busy. Big, bold, beautiful, and busy. This card is... this is 5 by 6.5, which makes it a USA 6. I covered it in that pink and lavender tone watercolor paper. I split the 3-piece topper set, put the inside up on foam tape, glued the center ring flat, and put my outside on foam tape also. I used one of those nice borders across the top and then did the Someone Special greeting up on foam tape as well. And that's just all that it wants. It's got so much going on in the card already that you want to keep your background and your embellishments really, really simple. Matching insert paper, done with this set. Okay, this one's got a lot of toppers on this set. You're going to be surprised how many cards we got out of this set. We've got fairly small toppers, except this one center one that's fairly good size. And a bunch of greetings. I'll give you some reads here. Wonderful wishes. No. Sending wonderful wishes your way. Sometimes it's kind of hard to read in the light in here because it's really bright and it reflects. It's time for a new adventure. Stay magical. Hope your birthday is magnificent. Have a fantastic day. And then lots of toppers. We've got this pretty, very, very busy piece of background. And we've got this absolutely gorgeous topper, or cardstock here with the foiling on it. Let's see what we made. Okay. I started with I believe this is a European A6. Yes, this is a 4x6 card. And I started by taking a piece off of here for my background. I added a border off the castles and unicorn sheet, added a nice castle, put this topper, which is lined in gold, up on a silver piece of Mary to make it fit, and I like that. I like that gold and silver together. I think that's really pretty. And added a matching insert, a couple more of my little stickers off that sheet, and I like the way that turned out. Next up, I had this really pretty piece here that I didn't want to waste. It didn't have any unicorns on it, but I just thought the image itself was really pretty. I like the trees, the valley, the river, so I cut this one from here. This one also, this one is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And all I've done with this one, just because I really wanted this to be the primary image, but these are unicorn cards, so I added one of my little unicorn tags on the side with just a piece of lime ribbon through it and a little butterfly here, and I just called it done. I just thought that was really pretty. Matching insert. Here's the other side of that cardstock. And I've just used a 5x5 card. I've covered it in silver Mary board. I cut my image slightly smaller to fit. I added 3 little stars off that same sticker sheet, the unicorns and castles. And then I added 3 glittered hearts using my double-sided tape and my double-sided stickers, heart stickers, and this cherry pink glitter that I talked about in the beginning. And I think that's really pretty. This could also have benefited potentially by doing some more of that dot glittering down here and glittering the ground here. I think that would have been pretty as well. But I like the way this card turned out. I think it's quite pretty. Okay, next up. Corey did this card, which is unusual because Corey doesn't usually get into the card making, but she came in and felt motivated to work on a card. So she used this large arch card from Hunkydory. Sometimes we have these in stock, sometimes we don't. If we don't have it in stock and you want it, what I would recommend is maybe using this arch window that we've used before and using a similar technique on the outside. but we've used this recently. You'll remember it has the windows that open up. This would be pretty with white windows opening up in the center of this archway and just covering the outside. But what she's done is used a piece of her cardstock, covered over the card, cut around the outside, and then on the inside, she took an X-Acto knife and cut out the window. Then she lined the inside with a piece of paper out of the 8x8 book that she liked. She added her topper on some foam tape, put a little greeting on the outside. Time spent with family is worth every second. That actually is off a different collection, but we had it left and she grabbed that. I think this is a really, really pretty card. Good job, Corey. Next, we have that larger topper from the center of the sheet. And I really liked the pagoda and kind of the Asian feel with the cherry trees and the pagoda and flamingos and things going on in here. So I wanted to kind of make this one a little bit more Asian in nature. And one way I could do that was using a lot of metallic. So I've covered my 4x8 in gold mirror board. And then I've used bright red off of the watercolor set as my cardstock in the background, which really kind of brings out the reds in the pagoda. Super simple card because it's a very detailed topper. I used 3 gold gems at the top, a line of 3 gold gems at the bottom, my greeting underneath, and it just didn't want any more than that. I thought that turned out pretty. And a piece of matching insert paper. This next one's kind of fun and just wildly creative. I used this piece of cardstock again. This time I'm using this part right here. Yes, that's upside down from the way they intended it. It worked just fine for me. And I put it on a European A6, approximately 4x6 cardstock. I broke my topper set into the frame piece and the center piece, put the center up on some foam tape, put my frame down flush. I added some stars in the cutout corners here. And then I took this big dazzle sticker off the unicorns and castles and used that on the side, surrounded him with stars as well, and I think it turned out pretty. Yes, it mixes gold and silver. I like it anyway, but that was fun. And finally, I used one more piece from over here. This happened to have been the sky piece to do the other smaller Asian topper. This time in pink, very similar to the red one. Covered my, I believe this is an A2. Yes, it is. 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card, which is a US A2. And cut a smaller piece of my cardstock to go in behind. 3 jewels, broke my frame into 2 pieces. This one's on foam tape, this is down flush. My greetings on foam tape, that's all I did. I just thought it didn't want any more than that. Keep it simple with those complex patterns and a matching insert. That's it for this set. This set's called Moonlit Fantasy. I really like this set. I think this is really, really pretty. It has 2 very large toppers and then a number of smaller pieces. We've got this beautiful side treatment with the rearing unicorn. I think that's pretty. I love the colors in this. Of course I would, because it's those blues and purples, and we know I'm kind of crazy about that. I also really like the foiled cardstock this time with the just blues, purples, and the gold stars. That's just really functional. Okay, here we go. Here's the first card, is using this piece. As I said before, often when I was using cardstock that wasn't foiled like this one, I used silver instead of gold, so I could really make use of my stickers from hot off the press. I covered my 4x8 card in Silver Mary, made my topper a 1/2 inch smaller on each dimension, so I have full 1/4 inch borders on this one. I cut a little strip of my border dazzle. Added a castle, believe in magic, a couple of clouds, and a number of stars. And I just thought it was really pretty, just like that. Very, very simple, but I thought it was pretty. Matching insert. Oh, it's done. Okay, this is a big card, but it's a big, big topper. One of the things I like to do with these really large toppers like this one is break the pieces apart when it has 3 pieces. Excuse me, and turn the center section, rotate just a little bit so that you end up with that kind of starburst pattern. I think that's pretty. Now in this case, I've used this background. You can see I wanted to take it out of the middle so that I had both borders. And then I covered that cardstock, or at least the center section of it, just the blue part, with acetate with the gold stars on it, which again plays nicely with this because you may or may not see them on camera, but this little star-shaped topper in the center has little gold stars on it. I layered those up. These two are flush mounted, and this one's up on some foam tape in the center. My little greeting, sending birthday wishes, is up on foam tape. This one we used the best glue ever, and no, I didn't either. I actually anchored that under. I remember now what I did. I took the outside ring, I glued it on, then I looked at the back of the acetate and I followed my tape lines. And that's how I anchored it onto the card and sandwiched my acetate between there. I hope that's clear what I'm talking about, but my anchors are actually under this outer line. And see, they're loose from here, but that doesn't matter at all. They're firmly affixed and it's not going anywhere. So I anchored under this wide strip. I think that's really, really pretty. This is a 7x7. Yes, this is a 7x7 card. This will require extra postage, but it's worth it. Have a magical day with matching insert. Last actually, from this set, I made this little 5x5? Yeah, 5x5 gatefold card. I covered it with my background actually from another set. No, I didn't. This is the watercolors, the lavender and light blue watercolor paper. And I covered each gatefold with that. I used one of my throwaway strips from one of my other sets that had the same gold and lavender. So one of those little pieces on the edge that I always tell you to save until you're done putting your kit together, that's what these are. I mounted my 3-piece topper set. I mounted it to the white side so that I could glue these 2 rings down flat, put this one up on some foam tape, then I cut around it, so that when you see it from the back, you have that sparkly star pattern. Don't have to do those little things, but I like having the tab here show nicely. Inside, I put one of my little toppers. You Are Magical up in the corner. I think that has really nice colors and really nice balance. Okay, and this last one is called Love Reflects Love. And it's got lots of toppers on one sheet here and lots of sentiments. We've got Love Reflects Love, I Believe in You, Wishing You a Day That Sparkles, Keep Looking Up, There May Be a Rainbow, For All the Thoughtful Things You Do, Just for You, a nice border. See, look at these beautiful border pieces. Don't toss those till you're done making your cards, because that could be super useful for something. But nice topper set, lots of smaller ones plus one bigger one here. We've got this lighthouse with the bright yellows and lavenders and the 2 unicorns in the foreground. And then we've got this, which could easily be, and I believe will be, a a double card because we've got the beautiful unicorn on this side, the beautiful castle on this side, and a great border at the top. So we need to make use of all of that. Here we go. First card. I've taken a 5x5 card. It's 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, but some of my cards are slightly off size. And I have covered it in gold maryboard. So I cut my cardstock slightly smaller to allow an edge all the way around. I added my wishing you a day that sparkles. And if you're going to have a greeting that says wishing you a day that sparkles, you better have some sparkles. So I added 3 of those rhinestone hearts, the acrylic hearts. Inside matching insert. It just doesn't want any more than that. I thought that was really pretty. Next up, let's do the other side of this cardstock. This one looks like it is maybe a 5, yeah, this is a 5x7. And covered in gold maryboard. I cut out my castle piece to be slightly smaller than my Mary. I used my horse rearing up there in the surf and with the castle in the background. I think that turned out nicely, especially since we had the yellows and things that were kind of in common there. I used a little border strip across the bottom here. Have a fabulous birthday up on foam tape. This is on foam tape. Just doesn't want more than that because you've got a lot of activity and a lot of color in the card. Used the matching insert, left a border around it. Pretty. Here's our lighthouse card. 5x5 card. This time I had it open upward. Don't know why, just felt like it. And I liked this. This just kind of seems motivational. There's something inherently motivational about lighthouses. So I like to keep looking up. There may be a rainbow for this one. And put that topper on it. Just featured my lighthouse. The topper's up on some foam tape. That's all I did to it. We have a lot happening in the card, a lot of color, and I just thought that was pretty, just like that. Matching insert paper. I used a piece of this yellow from this side over here. So I covered my, I think this is a 4x6. Yes, it is. 4x6 card in gold maryboard. I trimmed a slightly smaller piece of this yellow and put it on. Then I took the borders off the top of here, just trimmed this off, and I mounted my borders here and here with my topper in the center. Foam tape under the topper, foam tape under the Love Reflects Love. I liked it just like that. I didn't want any more on it. And that one didn't happen to get lined. And our last card of the day is this larger topper. And because I got 5 cards out of this set, I didn't have a piece of background paper for this one, so I used my watercolors cardstock again. This is a 5x7 card. This topper needs a 5x7 because look, I have less than a half an inch on either side. And all I did was put down my horses with my little greetings for all the thoughtful things you do. And then I just took some of my glittered hearts and scattered them. And I liked that. I thought that was pretty. That's all I did to it. It doesn't happen to be lined. That's it for the cards. Now stick around and we'll go through some of the optional materials you might want to try. We have a very, very limited number of these Unicorn Utopia luxury paper pads. It's absolutely stunning, to tell you the truth. I like the imagery in this even better than the card kit, but we have a very limited number of them. We didn't get our full order when we ordered them from Hunkydory, and it's now retired. So if you happen to have an opportunity to get this one, this is really highly recommended. It's absolutely gorgeous, but there's only a few. I have, in anticipation of the unicorn kit showing up, I got a variety of fun unicorn accessories. And these would be really nice used in moderation with this kit. Some of them would be great for the insides, for example, where you may or may not want to use them on the outsides based on keeping the design simple. But I just thought I'd show you some of our other unicorn things. Cute little X-cut die with a unicorn and stars. This is a little die from Tattered Lace that it's a bottle that says Unicorn Magic on it. This is a little stencil that I brought in that says, always be yourself unless you can be a unicorn, then be a unicorn on it. A little unicorn here in the corner, a big, beautiful unicorn here. Wouldn't that be pretty, just done in kind of a pearl color or something in your writing area? Beautiful. I believe in magic, these nice stars. So there's some really fun unicorn things to use. This would also be good if you happen to be able to get the 8x8. It has a lot more open areas in it, and there's more room for embellishment on some of those. I love this. I want to put this on the inside of some of my cards. When someone told me I lived in Fantasyland, I nearly fell off my unicorn. Wouldn't that be a great greeting for the inside of your card? I love that. This is the same greeting that we saw on the stencil. Always be yourself unless you can be a unicorn, then always be a unicorn. Again, great greeting for the inside of your card. Here's some unicorn cutting dies. This one's called Sundance. This is a really big one. Dapple Mane. She's beautiful though. Here's a unicorn wreath. Unicorn tapestry. This is the card that I used during the demo that I said I covered with. I used this with my gilding polish to make this a purple card. These are fun, and you can pop out these little windows. They're die cut if you want to pop them out. And it's already got kind of a maybe 2.5 inch area there. It's got 2 3/4 inch square there, just dying to be embellished right in the middle, and then some kind of border. But it's a pretty card. And this is, it actually folds to an A6, which is roughly 4x6. Here's some other fun choices. And again, you don't have to buy all these things. I'm just trying to inspire you to, if you see one you really like, of course I have all these in our store and I'll send you links to them, but I'm just trying to inspire you to dig into your craft cupboard and use some of the things you have too. This is a really, really pretty pack of textured iridescent sheets that Hot Off the Press carries, and we have those available. I use those in a couple of our cards today. I have these fun self-adhesive glitter sheets. A nice thing about this is it's that embedded glitter. Like you may have seen them in the red, the gold, and the white that we've had over the years. Well, I have these in a variety of colors now, and they're just great fun. Those are available in the store. But again, if you have glitter paper in your cupboard, dig it out. This is a great kit for using up some of that glitter paper. This is another form of glitter paper we have called Glitz Cardstock. And these are some new packs we just brought in recently from Crafter's Companion. And I just wanted to mention them because they're fabulous. In each pack you get 30 sheets. You get this matte mirror, which we don't usually carry. It's really nice. Sometimes it's a little bit like the satin papers that we have, but a little less reflective. You get this highly reflective mirror paper, and then you get a matching glitter paper all in one pack, 10 sheets of each. So that was fun. I brought the gold and silver to show you. I actually have that in a number of colors in the store, and I just think those are fabulous. So that's another thing to consider. We will have all of these on the supplies list, but again, you don't have to buy every material. Look in your craft stash, bring out what you want to play with. If you see something you particularly want, see us. We'll have it available for you. Okay, this has been the Unicorn Utopia kit from Hunkydory. If I counted right, we got 43 cards from this single kit. They're absolutely beautiful. You'll have a lot of fun making this. My best piece of advice for these cards is keep the designs simple, since the designs in the cards themselves are pretty complex. But I think you'll enjoy making these, and I think that the unicorn lovers, lovers of magic, lovers of all things sparkly are going to have a good time receiving these cards. I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, please feel free to do so. You can find our newsletter on the home page of our store. Just scroll to the bottom of the page, put your name and email address in. That way you'll get a notice of all new videos that we post, and I'll send you a supplies list with links to where you can get all of those products. We'll see you next time.